Hello, hello.
Hi guys.
Welcome to the
Yay.
last part of our workshop. All that's left to do now is add some shadows and some details. First with watercolors and then with colored pencils. Is that right, Julia?
Yes, that's right. I also have a fine liner, a thicker fine liner here. But if you don't have one, no worries. You don't need it. But I
Okay.
have
Okay, Julia. But
watercolor
before I let you dive in, let's take a couple of minutes and talk about.
No. I only wanted to show me pencils, colored pencils.
Mm, okay,
I
are
know.
you gonna show them now?
No, I have already done.
Oh, okay, never mind. So, anyways, before we start, let's talk a little bit about Brave Brushes Studio. Today was, as always, on Friday. We published a new lesson, and I think Fridays are our favorite day of the week, right? When a
Definitely.
new lesson comes out and everyone's excited and everyone starts working on, well, yes, a new topic, a new project, a new skill. But like we've said before, the skills for this workshop are all, well, can be practiced separately, each of the skills, and should be practiced separately if you want to be, well, let's say fluent, like if you want to be quick and confident when sketching on location. And we wanted to show you today some sketches made of this window made by Brave Brush Studio members. And we
Yes.
asked them to do these sketches before the workshop. They actually did them last week without any guidance from Julia, just using, well, her system, using all the information and the skills that they have learned. Now let's ask Julie if she's happy with what she can see.
Yes, definitely. Especially with the first one, you can see the textures. They are all really great. But the first one has the most textures, I think, and I know it's Annemaries, and she loved our textures adventure, and the other ladies did it too. But you can see how it pops the window, and the whole picture is so bright and so beautiful. All these details, all these textures, they make this picture look so interesting, actually. And also the other two artworks, you can see that the shadows are really great. I mean, um, they are dark, and they are, and the details are also very well done, and the textures. I also love the picture on the right. You can see this cracks on the wall, and some bricks. Really beautiful. Yes, I'm very happy. And it's just in a few weeks for some of them. They
Okay.
developed it so quickly.
Yeah, so basically, we have no way to check whether each particular person has done every lesson inside our adventures, but we have lessons designed to take you through all of these skills and help you develop all these skills. And I'm guessing all three artists from the previous slide have done it, right? But we want to show a few other success stories, and this one is my favorite, I think, because it's so unique. As in, it doesn't happen very often that you get
That
that
someone
somebody
do this.
sketches one and the same scene from one and the same reference photo with a difference of a few months or a few years or a few weeks. I don't know how much time passed between these two, but one was done before Brave Brushes Studio and the other after a few months in Brave Brushes Studio. Julia, do you want to comment on that too?
Yes,
What
definitely. You can see that the first picture on the left is a little bit flat. You can't see any shadows, and the greenery is a little bit too green. And in the
unnaturally green.
what did you say?
Never mind.
Okay, and on the right, you can see that there are great shadows and the textures. There is some perspective to. And also on I mean the picture in the middle, the same pictures on the left, but on the right side then, a few months later. And I think also a very, very good example of the improvement is the picture on the right with the church, and it's very small, but I saw it bigger, and you can see that the textures are so beautiful, and also the shadows. There is so much improvement. It's really amazing to see. We're so proud of our brave brushes.
Okay, here's one more. It's definitely not the same scene. Yeah, it's very different, so it's hard to compare. But you can
But
also see.
also so much improvement. Look at this greenery. It's so beautiful now. I mean the sunflower and all the shadows on the right, comparing to a little bit flat picture on the left. Also beautiful textures on the right, shadows, and yeah, much better, and also lines improvement, straight lines. I know Marina also loved this adventure with lines, and oh no, she hated this in the beginning. Can you remember? Yeah, it was so funny, but she did it, and in the end,
Yeah.
she loved it too. To do it.
Well, and windmills are not exactly easy to draw, are they? Windmills are
No.
tricky. We will be doing a windmill sketching workshop inside Brave Brushes Studio on International Windmill Day on the 13th of May, is it this year? Or
13, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Okay, it's your Dutch thing, so I don't know. Anyways, here's one more, and then we'll get to sketching.
Vivian also the same actually, much more impressive because of shadows, because of textures. Yeah, all these things, they come they become better when you practice. Also better line work a few months later. And I love this picture on the right because now on one hand, on the other hand, um, it's from 2 weeks ago, a week ago, when we had this
Last
urban space.
weekend it was, yeah, you're
Yes, last
sketching.
weekend. It was last weekend, but and Vivian was there, and in me too, but we didn't meet each other, and that's a little bit pity. But I love her picture.
Okay.
That's
Well, definitely the second one is also a much more difficult, like complex subject
yes,
to draw. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And look at these people; they are much more in proportion now.
All right. Well, anyways, yeah, these are just some of the before and after stories from Brave Brush Studio. And we realize that change does not really happen, overnight or even over the course of a few weeks. And that's why we started Brave Brush Studio, because we think that standalone courses or trying to do random YouTube tutorials, no matter how good they are, does not give artists a trajectory, a path to follow, and does not give consistency, which is what we're trying to have in Brave Brushes Studio. And just like one last thing before I let you all paint, in May, and this is very exciting, our topic for May is travel sketching. And Julie is working hard on we'll have 5 weeks, actually, 5 video lessons, starting from materials, but that's the easy part, and then choosing what to draw, how not to get overwhelmed on location, some techniques and tools that you can use to create fast and impressive sketches. We'll talk a little bit about textbooks, sketchbooks, sketchbook design, and a secret part. Wow, Julie, a secret part that everyone asks about. Okay, we'll leave it at that. I'll just say that before our May adventure starts, we're offering a free 5-day trial of Brave Brushes Studio, so you can just, look inside, see for yourselves what we have there, and whether it is something that works for you or not. Okay, so I'm gonna remove our presentation and add Julia's sketch.
How are you guys? Are you going to draw with me? I hope so. Okay, so today we are going to finish this sketch, and what we need to do, I have already said it, but maybe someone missed it. We will add shadows to it, and we will add some details. And I want to start with shadows. And before I start painting, I want to activate my watercolor by making it wet. So, and I still have some watercolor here, and it's not because I'm too lazy or something, but these are good colors we can use for the shadows. I mean, it would be a little bit stupid to remove them and then start all over again while we have already these colors, and we can just pick them here up and use. And for the shadows, as for the shadows, I have already explained it yesterday, but I want to repeat it. When we see a picture, something, especially when it's outside, we have a light source, and usually it's the sun, or at least the light from the sun that creates shadows. So there will always be shadows under objects. For example, here will be a shadow. There will be a shadow here. This will be a dark part. And we also have a shadow on one of the sides. Usually, sometimes there are a few light sources, then shadows are very complicated. To avoid all the difficulties, I just choose one side to paint the shadows or to draw the shadows. And this time, I think I have already done it here. The shadows will be on this side. So this side and under the objects. We don't have that many shadows here, so it will be quite easy to do. So, and I start with the shadows, with the shadow under the wires. And I paint it like this. I just pick up my my colors from yesterday, and I draw it like this. And now it's a very, very hard line here, so I rinse my brush and wipe it off, and then I make this line softer. Otherwise, it will be too hard. So this way we can create a very beautiful soft shadow. And I think it's a little bit too light on the under the wires. It's not too light. It should be darker because the shadow is always darker closer to the object. And now I add some purple to it. And then with a smaller brush, I add some darkness. And maybe a little bit thicker paint. Like this. And also here, I make it darker. And then I again can make this the edge softer. And depending on your watercolor paper, this is 100% cotton paper. It's very forgiving and easy to use. So you can paint in layers on it. I also want to make this part a little bit darker, but not with these colors, but with yellow, with the same yellow I used yesterday. Just the second layer. Add a little bit of Potter's Pink to it, as we did yesterday. And so I make this part a little bit darker. So the wires comes it looks like they are closer to us than the wall, and it's the case too. Okay, so the edge and maybe I add a little bit more color to this part. I actually like this color, but I think it will be even better if I use a little bit more color to it, because then it will be brighter and more impressive. I need a larger brush for that. Okay, so, and I often see that people don't dare to add second and the third layer, and that's actually how you work with watercolor. Watercolor is not the paint for one layer. Of course, you also can paint with one layer, but the much easier, the easier way to use watercolor is by adding, by painting with layers. Okay, here for example, I also can add a shadow. So this will be the darker part because it's in the shadow, and we immediately see that that we create depth by adding this shadow. Beautiful depth that makes our sketch look so interesting. Without the depth, it's boring, it looks boring. And here on window, on the window frame, we also will have some shadow from the from the wall. And also here, this part will also have a shadow, a thinner one. So here we have a shadow. And someone asked yesterday why I made this part so dark, and later I remembered actually why I did it in this sketch, and I actually automatically did it this time. But it's also it's not only because the impression, and I don't know, because I like the colors, but it's also because when we will draw this ornament, it will pop much more if we draw it on with lighter colors on a darker background. So if you paint this part light, what color do you need to use? What can you use for this? Or you need to make it much darker, but it's not dark actually. So there are different options. You can choose for making the background very dark, or you choose for the lighter background, and then for the darker ornament. It's a choice. I prefer to make the background darker, also because this part is much darker, and I think it's more impressive actually if you do so. Okay, so I will also have some shadow in the on the curtains, and maybe it's a little bit too not a good blue. This is better. And so I add shadows to the windows, to the glass, to the curtains, and this is also a good way to create depth in your pictures. So it's not only with lines, it's also with shadows. Okay, and I see that the shutters are a little bit too light, so I want to make them add just a little bit color to them. Yesterday, when we stopped, colors were brighter, and when watercolor dries, then everything gets a little bit lighter, and then now it's almost white. So, and I want to make it, I want to add a little bit more color to it. Okay. And some of the other, a little bit of the other blue color, so we create a kind of gradient. So it's always more interesting to add more gradient to colors. So you paint not with one color, but you mixed different colors and create gradient this way. Okay, what we also need, well, the shadow here. Again, I just grab some color here and paint like this. And I can leave it like this, but I think I prefer to make this edge softer. It's more beautiful, right? And let's add a little bit more orange color to it. Orange, and maybe also some pink color. It's still bright, so that's a better color. Much brighter, much more interesting. And we also need to add some shadows to the wires here. And these shadows can be a little bit sharper. Don't want to make all the edges of the shadow edges the same. Soft shadows. Okay, so some shadows will be darker and other shadows will be lighter, so to create more difference. And what we also need to do is to make these parts of the shutters darker. With the smallest brush, I paint some parts darker and leave the other parts light. And here we should be very careful and not to paint too wild. So all these corners should be filled with watercolor, otherwise it will look a little bit less accurate, I think. So you need a brush with a sharp tip. And try to work a little bit fast. Not too fast, but also not too slowly. And the more you practice, the faster you can draw, of course. Okay, so a little bit more dark color here, because shadows at the bottom are often darker than shadows at, at the top of objects. So these shadows will be a little bit darker. The same on the other side. That's a lot of work with all these shadows. But it's an impression, so don't try to make it perfect. You know, sometimes, like here, for example, it's not very accurate, but that's good enough. Okay. So a little bit more color again. Also for these parts, maybe a little bit too much, but we can vary the darkness so that some of them will be a little bit darker and the other ones lighter, maybe this one a little bit darker. And yes, here we have a few more. And a little bit more paint gray. To make it dark again at the bottom. Okay, I think that's enough. And let me see, one thing here I also want to add more shadows because it's so light now. Just use the same color but of a thicker consistency. Paint gray again, no black here for the shadows. And the lamp should also have a shadow on at the bottom. And all these holders, all these parts also have shadow, and you can see how it pops. Okay, so I think this shadow should be a little bit darker. It's kind of disappeared, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but just add some color. I think this will be good. Again, the shadow, the edge, soften the edge, and here also the edge should be a little bit softer. Okay, and textures, our bricks, they are all the same color now. They're just orange, but I don't like this. I like them to be different. I like them to be of different color, and this is why I paint them. I add some yellow or some orange, more just darker color, darker orange than they were, and it's important to make them, to paint the whole the whole brick. So otherwise it looks a little bit busy, too much lines, too many lines, too many watercolor, also lines. So when you paint inside the lines, then it looks more accurate, more beautiful. Not always. Sometimes you just, it's more beautiful when you paint very freely and not inside the lines, but sometimes here it's better to follow the lines. And so here add more color, also here. No lines, but I just want to add a few bricks more, maybe here, one, and here. And we don't need to paint them all, just maybe I can leave these two like they are. And for the curtains, I see that they are a little bit too boring because there are no folds on them, and we paint them like that. Just not the straight lines, but a little bit curvy, a little bit with some variation in them. Otherwise, when the lines are too straight, it looks like a little bit like fake curtains. I think this will be good. Okay, and later we can add some colored pencils to them, and it will look much better. Okay, so now I add a little bit of darkness here because this is also in the shadow, and here this shadow also will be darker. And maybe to make it more cohesive, I add some brown colors here. Otherwise, it's like another part of the another picture. It's not very harmonious. So this way it will be better. Okay, and I think it's actually enough with watercolor, and we need to wait a little bit because my paper is very wet, so I need to wait a few minutes before it dries and before I can um, start to draw with pencils. I
Oh,
only want.
Julie, it's not just you, it's everyone who
Yeah.
all needs to
Maybe there are also people who just want to paint all the other things. Maybe they can't keep up with me. It's a very common problem.
yes, but okay, come on. Now
Okay.
let your paint dry, and while we're waiting, I want you to have a look at this comment, because it really, resonates with me too. It's always such a pleasure to watch you, Julia, doing your magic. Like every time, really, every time I kind of know the steps. I know what to expect. I know the magic is gonna happen, but every time it's such a joy to just watch. But also, so happy being a member at Brave Brushes, and a very cute name for a Brave Brushes member, a Brave Brushy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Um,
you.
Hang on. I'll
Oh,
just.
Polly. Hi. So good to see you here.
Okay, and while we're waiting for the paint to dry, we'll actually, what do you say, Julia, show what's inside the website.
Yeah, I think it's a good moment to do this.
Okay, so let me share if I let me see if I can share it right. Because actually, well, if you're not planning or not interested in becoming part of Brave Brush Studio, that's fine by us. But you have to just, take a peek, because Julia also worked very hard to create a beautiful, well, design of the website. You can hang on. You can see that it's all her favorite colors and her style, which is very recognizable. And what you're looking
Very,
at
very beautiful.
is the main page, the members dashboard inside our website. We have a dedicated website just for the members of the studio, and it is linked to all other areas of the website: the current month's adventure, the library of classes, our Facebook group, live sessions. Here you can see in my recent content the things I've been working on, or at least looking at, let's be honest, just looking at. Plus the upcoming events for, well, May. We've got our regular questions and answers session. And then if you do the trial in the next few days, you can actually join us for the 2nd of May, where all the members ask questions, just or feedback on their work. Plus, on May 13th, there's the Windmill Day. And we also recently started a beginner series, a series of workshops with the very, very basic. This is something we weren't offering originally, but then we chose to do that. And then our library has the archive of all of Julia's Skillshare classes, I think the total of 14 or 15, plus
I
the
wasn't sure actually. Something like that.
the archive. So, yeah, the archive of, so this is the Skillshare archive. Then there's all of the adventures that we have done so far. The new video lessons that are not available anywhere else are also there. And this is what, again, one of our favorite things, what an adventure looks like. So it's a collection of lessons, and each week a new lesson appears. Sometimes Julia goes a little over the top with 2 lessons a week. And basically, yeah, you do them, you follow all the steps, and one adventure guides you to through a certain aspect of sketching. Yeah, it could be the very basics, or this one is the power of color, so color theory, color practice, things like
This
that.
is so good, actually.
Are you enjoying the way it looks, Julia?
I'm so proud of this one. It's so good.
Okay, well, yes, yeah. Okay, and then we also have live sketching
So I'm
sessions.
not the only one, right, who is very happy with it.
I
We got
hope so.
a few comments in the Facebook group from people who said such a good adventure. It's about color and it's so great.
Yeah, well, anyways, just like this workshop that you're doing right now, we have sketching workshops every month. They're usually about 2 hours long. We don't break them up in parts. So this is a very recent one where we practice color harmonies and doing thumbnails for sketches. This one had a very different technique than this one. 1 point perspective. This one was a tricky sketch, wasn't it? And
Yes.
then there's more and more. Monthly sketches. And overall, I was actually looking at all the videos that we have created since we started Brave Brushes Studio. I think the count is like 49 today. 49 video, Julia, you have created since December.
Wow,
That is truly, truly impressive.
crazy.
Anyways, if you're interested, there's a free trial. We're not going to be offering it for a very long time, maybe just, well, the few first days of May. And then once the first lesson of the adventure comes out, we'll close down this option of free trial. But, well, anyways,
It's so by the way.
bravebrushes.com, this is where you find us. If you're not interested, that's also fine. We've got, free resources, the new Facebook group, and we'll also give you a way to show your appreciation to Julia at the end of this workshop.
Yes.
So, Julia, how dry is your painting now? Can we move on, or
Thank you, ladies. You're so great.
yeah? Okay.
All our great brushes are here supporting us. Thank you. How dry? Yeah, I think it's good now. Almost dry. Yeah. So we can go over to the color pencils. And let me see. So as for the colored pencils, what I actually do is I love to use blue color for shadows, because shadows are cool and cool colors, and usually use blue color for it. And we also talked about the color theory and why it's so beautiful to use in the adventure. We talked about why it's so beautiful to use orange and blue with blue shadows on it, because these are complementary colors and it makes your whole picture becomes very harmonious and very beautiful. So for these shadows I'm going to use, and for these shadows I'm going to use blue color, but I don't want to use blue color for this part, because this part maybe a little bit, but this part is very light, and blue shadows will be quite quite hard. But I have this very beautiful, almost magic color, and the name is strawberry color, and it's a very good color to paint to draw shadows on, for example, orange, or especially on darker yellow colors. And I draw shadow. Oh, by the way, I don't need this thing anymore. So I draw shadows here, here, only on one side. All the shadows will be on the right side of the objects. And here, and I press harder here and there to make them look, to make the wires pop. And let me see, I think I also need to make, to add a little bit volume to the wires. So I add a little bit. This is another color. It's just brown. I don't know. Doesn't matter actually. I just add a little bit of shadow on the bottom, to the bottom of the wires, and this way I create a volume and the shadow. And I think it will be actually great to use just a little bit of blue pencil or a shadow, like one line here, the dark shadow here and there, to emphasize it. Like this. Okay. Then I use the same color, the same color, use a lot of different options. And with watercolor, it's sketchy, so we can use color pencils. This, and I also want adding colored pencils. You can add so much more texture to your picture. So use different materials and combine them. I create a very interesting picture. Or it's more interesting than when you have all these pictures and shows. And here, let's see this part. Another color, blue elements. Here's create the make with pencil. Here, so I here just with elements. We can make try to make light dark ground when with light pencils on the dark background. And you see it, we create this ornament different options chose for drawing on the dark background, and I like this option.
Okay, Julia, just to let you know, your sound keeps breaking up, and it seems, well, I don't know if you can do anything about it at the moment, but yes, it's not. It probably is your internet connection. So a few people are saying that the sound is bad.
It's bad, or it's better now?
Like to the point of not being able to understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Are you, hang on. Are you? Do you have your what's it called? Your earphones plugged into your phone?
Yes, maybe.
Can you switch to that? I'll.
I will try. Yeah, I'll try. I think it will be better.
Okay, and you need to unmute yourself on your phone if you can. Then we'll see. Okay, so just give us a moment, guys. We'll figure this out.
Like this.
Okay, and you need to switch off the sound on your computer.
Yes.
Or maybe, just shut it down completely.
Yes, that's better, right? That's better now.
I think so.
Yeah, there is no. Yeah, I think it should be great now.
Okay, so give
Guys,
us
can
the overview of what you have been doing, starting from, well, the texture on the wall above a little bit, and then
now
the
I
window.
see that I forgot to. Oh, better, Bianca. Thank you. An overview
of what
What-
you were doing on
Oh,
the
okay.
wall above the window, and then all this blue that you have been adding. Yeah, just quickly go over, well, whatever you
Okay,
were
so I added the shadows to the wires. I shaded the shadow to the wires themselves, and also to the shadows from the wires on the wall. And then I also added some textures to the wall. So using the pencil, a darker pencil, I added some shadows. So maybe a little bit more shadow, but another color. And textures. We need some textures here, otherwise we have just very boring area here. And then I added some shadows to the window. And here, let me see. And I started to draw the ornament. And I have already said it. I created the darker background so I can now draw with a lighter colored pencil on the darker background, and it pops. And if I kept it like much lighter, then it was very difficult to create a contrast between the lighter ornament or the I don't know, just difficult to create the contrast, because you need some things
to make some objects darker and some objects lighter, and then you can have contrast, and contrast is something that makes our sketches look more interesting. When we don't have contrast, we have no interest in the picture. It's all about contrast. I see that I forgot this part of the wall here, of the frame here. Okay, and so I go ahead and I keep drawing the ornament like this, and also here. And I don't draw everything out exactly as it is. I just make a suggestion of an ornament, a beautiful ornament, but not exactly as in the picture, because it takes too long to draw it exactly the same. Okay, so I also want to add, I don't need watercolor anymore, so I can get rid of it. And I also want to make this shadow darker, and maybe I need to use this color for that. No, it's not a good color because it's not really dark. But what I can do, and it works even better for creating dark shadows, is the fine. Use a thicker fine liner. It's 1 millimeter, and I use it to create a very, very dark shadow. You can see it pops immediately. And I also can draw a few, oh, you can see the picture anymore. I also can add some details with this thicker fine liner. Dark, kind of black details. And also a few darker shadows for some parts here. And also to add, I can add some shadows to the ornament, so it also will pop. Just on one side, so not everywhere, but just like everything on the right, all the shadows. And this way we also can make this part of the ornament more visible. And also here. And also here. And here. And also for this part, I think it will be better if I add some darkness. Here we have a shadow too. So it's all about shadows and textures, actually. Drawing is all about shadows and textures. And beautiful, beautiful bright colors. Color harmony is also a very important thing for sketching, for drawing. When you know how to combine colors, your sketches will be Okay, here. And here we also have some darkness. Also a little bit more here. And wires. And some textures. Okay, and one last thing. I also want to add a shadow to this part. Here we also have a shadow. And I do it with a brown pencil on the yellow part and with a strawberry color on the orange part, on the brick wall. And this way we again have more shadow and more interest in the picture. And I think we're actually done. We can add a lot of details, keep adding a lot of details and all this beautiful stuff we see here in the picture, but it's a sketch and we just need to stop at a certain moment. Right, Anna? Sometimes it's just time to stop.
I think I've trained you well over the
Yeah,
past few months to stop.
yeah. It becomes better and better.
All right. Well, before we go, do you have any questions?
Yeah,
About
guys,
any-
if you have questions about materials or the way of drawing, please ask.
And in the meantime, we would also like to say that we can't wait to see your sketches.
Yes.
And you can share them on Instagram, but make sure tag Julia and use this hashtag. I'll put the hashtag in the email, in the follow-up email that we will send you tomorrow, I think, but or maybe later tonight. But anyways, use the hashtag so we can actually see your sketch, or post it in the Facebook group.
Facebook group, yeah, we will be happy to hear to see it there. Definitely.
Okay, Julie, do you want to switch your camera so we can see, like turn your phone around so we can see your face? Don't worry about the computer anymore. Just turn the camera. Yeah.
Like
Okay.
this?
Yeah, like this. Yeah.
Okay.
This
Am
is
I?
good.
Oh, I'm orange again. That's better.
All right. And we do hope to see at least some of you in Brave Brushes studio. For those of you who are not interested in joining us, we have another way you can, show Julia that you appreciate her generosity, her time, and her teaching style.
Hours.
By buying us a coffee. And we love coffee, don't we, Julia? So
We
I'll
do.
put the link in the comments right now if you feel like saying thank you. And I'll also include it in the email with all, the email will be primarily about all the resources that we recommend on our blog, on our YouTube, that you can use as follow-up to this workshop. But also, I will include the hashtags and this link to buying Julia a cup of coffee.
And Anna.
Okay, I never say no to coffee. That is true. Okay. In fact, that's how we became friends.
It's not.
Remember, Julia, the first time we had coffee, we actually talked for 3 hours. So,
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not only about coffee. Let's
Yeah,
be
of course.
honest. It's also because we spent a lot of time to make all this content, and you can enjoy it, and you can practice, and you can use it for your to develop your skills. So it's not only about us
No, come on.
drinking coffee. It's also just appreciation. If you love our content, and if you enjoy it,
If you find
then
it useful.
if you find it useful, yes.
Okay, Julia, time to stop now. It's been 1 hour and 10 minutes, way
No
longer
way.
than we planned.
No way.
So, okay, well, happy sketching, everyone, and you know where to find us.
Yes, thank you guys for being with us.
Bye.